Hey guys, and welcome to a brand new video on the channel. On this video, we're going to be looking at a very special sort of niche method, which I've done before, and I mentioned in a market watch video lately. But due to the price of papayas, I was going to do this video again. We're going to look at the fruitbat familiar and its fruitfall scrolls. So in the past couple episodes of Market Watch, we've actually noticed that the price of papayas have been going through the roof, just to a point now where they're very quickly approaching 10k. And 10k for papaya means that the fruitfall scrolls, which come from the fruitbat familiar, are going to make you significant profit. So as you can see on Grand Exchange, we've just bought one over mid at 9.5k. That's a pretty big price for papaya. So let's go and buy a fruitbat pouch and let's see how we do and go from there. So fruitbat familiar is level 69 something, I believe. And as you can see from this, it's going to cost you very small in terms of your output. It's really not going to cost you a lot to get started with this method. So we're going to buy 100 scrolls for a sample size, just because I think after 100 scrolls, we'll quite clearly see like where we're going to be. Now, a few things before we actually get started. This is the second time I've recorded this video because the audio corrupted. But what I did realize is that because I've unlocked the Spirit Cape from Dungeoneering, which we can actually go and have a look at now, that actually reduces my summoning point cost for using scrolls. And because of that, a method like this is so much more beneficial to have that unlocked. But also, if you're going to be using your summoning familiars for combat and going to be using scrolls, it's definitely a worthwhile pickup. Now, I always thought you had to wield the Spirit Cape, but I think something's been changed with it because I only have bought it and I don't need to wear it to actually like have the benefits. It's almost like a passive benefit now. So as you can see here, also when purchased, permanently reduces the cost of any scroll abilities by 20%. So if you're doing things like this, which is going to be a money-making method using the scrolls of familiar, definitely worth a pickup. And 41k tokens nowadays really isn't a lot. So definitely something to look into and definitely something worthwhile if you are, if you do have a token spare and if you are looking to do this method. So another thing for this method as well, I'll just equip that. So another thing for this method is also where you're going to position. Now I'm going to go to Cathby for a few reasons. One, Cathby Beach is a pretty big area and it gives me the ability to drop as much fruit around me as possible. Also, the Cathby area is very close to a tall leprechaun, and a tall leprechaun is going to be highly beneficial to this because it drops of a fruitbat of fruit. The tall leprechaun will actually note your produce. So you don't have to run to a bank, you don't have to use magic notepaper. The tall leprechaun is going to be doing all the hard work for us, just so all we're literally doing is either skilling or collecting the fruit. Now, what I basically do is use all my scrolls and drop it on the floor, and then after that I'll loot afterwards with the area loot, so I don't have to pick everything up individually. Now, one thing you can do, because there's quite a lot of stand time here, you can actually pick an activity or something you need to do in the meantime, so while you're waiting, you are actually actively skilling. So one thing I would suggest, if you've got things like Silverhawks, make sure to have them equipped. Or if you've got things like Broad or some protein crafting hide of what I've got, or if you need to do enchanting or making any form of bolts, really good way just to be stood there doing this while your familiar's summoning points recharge. Now, through testing this in the previous video, it actually turns out that you can do the protein hides while also having your scrolls spammed. So it's a pretty good way to actually get XP, but also make a lot of money on the side. And I didn't quite realize it was this sort of way. Now, also with the price of portables, you could whack a portable down here and just get a little bit more XP while making money on the side. Like this is an addition to whatever you're doing. So if you're doing something like making bolts, enchanting, something which is going to make you profit, it's just going to be extra stuff on the top as well, which is really good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to summon my fruitbat pouch. It's got a 48-minute timer. One fantastic update that Jagex did do a couple of months ago is the fact that you can now store your fruitbat scrolls. Not only that as well, once you store them, you can set your auto fire rate, how quick you want these scrolls to be used. And basically, if you select the quickest one possible, so I've gone for like a 2 or whatever the shortest number is, it will literally just sit there and spam your scrolls. So as you can see here, I'm actually doing protein dragon hide while my fruitbat is collecting papayas for me. I will only go and collect my papayas once like enough has been dropped on the floor. I'll run to the tall leprechaun, note the item, and then come back. As you can see by my chat though, the Spirit Cape is doing absolute bits and absolute doing work. For a full summoning bar, it saved me 12 points, which is an extra 3 moves of the fruitbat. So as you can see now, the fruitbat has now run out of scrolls, and this is where you have to be slightly quick because as soon as the fruitbat can actually do the move, it will do it. So you need to run to the leprechaun, get it done, and then go from there. Now, a few things are a little fiddly with this interface. Once you've got the area loot up, every time you go and click space, it will try and do the area loot. So you need to make sure that your option for your protein or whatever does pop up first before hitting space. But then also as well, you do need to just make sure that you're giving yourself enough time to just skill away while your regen bar comes up and then goes from there. Now you can use summoning potions, but summoning potions are quite pricey and it just seems a bit overkill. And because like the price we're using for this fruit bat is so cheap, and the fact we're actually doing skills, like the fruit bat is kind of like the second thing we're doing here, but it's going to be making us profit as and when we skill as well. But just from this invo alone, we've already made our profit from our 100 scrolls, and we're already at 63k, and we've already got the stuff in the invo as well. Now the one thing which is a slight annoyance with this method is that the limes and lemons aren't notable. So you could probably take some magic note paper and note them separately, but the tool leprechaun won't note limes and lemons because they're not linked to farming or the farming skill. You can't farm them on a tree. That is something you can't do. But let's talk about the papaya price anyway. So papayas are currently 9.5k, which is really, really high for those. Now, they're linked to the super energy potions, which have always been sort of up and down in their price. You turn them into adrenaline potions. So we'll buy the super energy potion, add the papaya, and that's what creates the adrenaline potion. But 9.5k is getting to the point now where it's like a considerable price and almost as well worth doing on farm runs. Now, if you were to do your farm runs, pretty confidently say with things like a giant ent, you'll probably get the best part of 80 to 90 papayas, and it's something like nearly 10k each. That's a 900k farm run, which you can pretty much do daily. So also, as well as protein, you can actually fletch broads, which I imagine means you can fletch anything while still doing your fruit bat familiar animation, which does mean you're just flying through stuff and getting XP as well. So for me, I'm fletching and getting one of the top tiers of XP, but also making roughly about 6 to 7 mil per hour just from papaya loots, which I don't know, you can't moan at that. Like to make like that sort of profit on the side, just while you're doing other stuff as well, pretty incredible. So really, really good method there. This will only be viable while the price of papayas is this high, and it's definitely something you need to keep an eye on. As soon as papayas like slightly go down, sort of 7 to 6.5k, don't get me wrong, why are you doing it? Why are you doing skills? Still, in my opinion, very much worthwhile, but maybe a little less so for the hassle of having to go and bank every single time. Now, looking at this now, I didn't realize that limes and lemon were such a good price. I would probably bring magic note paper just to note these, because it'll just make you a little bit more profit in the hour. I mean, while it's there and why it's so easy to sort of transform and note, you may as well look at doing it anyway. So now what I'm going to do, just to save you guys the pain of having to listen to me, probably for another 4 or 5 minutes while I do these 50, I'm just going to sit and auto-fire these off while doing some fletching, getting some fletching gains in, which is always a good thing. And I'll come back at the end, and what we'll do is we'll price check everything. We'll sell it on the Grand Exchange maybe, and then we'll go from there. So that is all of our scrolls used. So roughly 20k, or maybe let's say 30k for the pouch as well. 30k all in for the pouches and the scrolls, and we're going to price check now to see where we currently sit. Now, one thing I would add, I'd probably bring some note paper just to do the limes and lemons, because it will add up a little bit. Whether you want to or not, it's your choice, but I do think they add enough up to be worthwhile anyway. Bananas, pineapples, and all that. That pretty much covers the cost of your fruit bat, which means all these papayas are just straight profit. So we're going to throw them in, and now 752k. That roughly took me the best part of 6 to 7 minutes, which means 700k, you can easily be looking more towards like 7 to 8 mil per hour. And the fact you can do this while skilling and doing some other stuff as well, your fruit bat is basically making you money while you're sort of getting GP as well, which I don't think it's sort of meant for you to be able to skill while the fruit bat is collecting your fruit, but maybe that's something which has changed when you put the scrolls into the fruit bat now, but you're just sat here skilling away and your fruit bat is making you money. So that kind of GP per hour profits while being able to do things like fletching or protein crafting, and that's definitely a way I'll be skilling in the future, because it will bring me GP while I'm doing stuff anyway. So that is going to be the end of this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. The fruitful scrolls are still very much underrated and definitely a decent way to make GP. If these papayas go over 10k and even further, it's just going to make more money for you as well. So while we're doing market watch, we'll make sure to keep an eye on the price of papayas, whether it's worth still continuing this method, and also whether it's going to be even more profit than what it currently is. But the fact you can skill alongside it and not affect your skilling is a massive, massive plus point for this as well. Definitely give it a try and see if it works for you. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have, please make sure to give me a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys very soon in the next video.